Major, can you describe your time here as, I mean, I remember talking to you one time, you couldn't even go to the grocery store. And are you kind of relieved that that's over, all the craziness?
Well, now I could go to the grocery store, but they be watching me. I couldn't shoplift.
I mean, it was just the craziness, the surroundings. There was just a lot of were people asking you for autographs and stuff on campus.
Well, you know what? To be honest, I think when you're a student here, really you run into students all the time. You know what I mean? So it really wasn't like you in class, people no, because they might see you the next day in class. So it really you probably get more like as far as signing autographs once you after the game or before the game, something like that.
Major, when you got here, when was the first time you realized I can make people miss, I can move the ball? And when did the coaches acknowledge that and realize, hey, we have a player here that could do some special things?
Well, when you playing football growing up, you know what I mean. You basically, as you get older or more mature, you going up against older guys and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing once I got to college, now you playing against grown men because you coming in right out of high school and some seniors is 22. You know what I mean? So I think that's where you be like, man, could I beat this grown man now? You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. It's almost in the ninth grade playing against, a 12th grader. So, it's something like that. It's like you got to get the confidence that you can beat an older guy now.
Did it happen fairly early for you? I mean, that redshirt year, that first year, or was it when you got to, when you were competing for the
Well, I should have got red shirt. I really wasn't ready to play when I first got here. So that red shirt year helped me. If you notice, like even in the NFL, a lot of guys, once they make that transition from college to the pros, they get hamstring injuries, you know what I mean? And a lot of them don't start the season off playing, because of injuries. And what it is, you trying to run faster to beat a guy, now you might pull a hamstring and stuff like that until you adjust to the game moving faster and stronger guys, and then all of a sudden you probably slow down to a pace to where now you won't pull as many hamstrings.
One story that you told over and over and over. Is there one play, one instance that people have asked you time after time to relive?
Well, the Penn State play, the play, I guess, that comes up all the time.
Any different versions through the years?
Oh, no, I would say when I think about the play, the thing that stand out in my mind, it was the game. Yeah. Everything for one half, everything went right. Everything, you know what I mean? Right before the half, Andre Johnson take 150 yard, you know what I mean? If I had to write a script for a half, you know what I mean, that would have been it.
How about when you lined up underneath Wolfley?
Oh, yeah. It was funny because, when that's my big Wolfley story right there. Is, I come up to the line and I'm looking, and normally when you say break, the center go out and you just follow the center up to the line. But for some reason, I guess the ball was moved over right or left. So I'm walking up and the line is moving, then I get up under him. So it was funny. He said, Mage, and I look, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Then got up, he let a fart, and then I went over to the
Obviously, number 9 is going up on the wall today. What's the genesis of you wearing number 9? Was it a favorite player growing up, or were you just handed number 9 when you got here?
Well, when I was in high school, when I was playing, I grew up, I was a big Cleveland Brown fan. Brian Sipe, that was my favorite quarterback. So when I first got to Bashir, I was wearing, I think, number 11. They kind of just hand you a number because in a sense, until, like you kind of prove yourself, you know what I mean? You basically, you know what I mean, get the number basically they give you. But it was a guy on the team named Brian Smith. He wore number 9, played varsity. He was a tailback. And I liked the way, when he was running, I liked the way he looked. And when he graduated, I said, let me get number 9.
One more here. Tell us the story about Maryland when Jeff Price threw up on the football.
Oh, I really wasn't, that's more of a Dale story because, he's on the line and he's spitting up. I'm kind of behind him. I really didn't realize what was going on. And then, when I looked down and everything. But, the thing, I was like, man, I hope when he snap it, it don't, all the spit up, I get, come in my hand, maybe be on the other side and I can hand it to the running back, you know what I mean? And he hold on to it.
Wolfley said you didn't want to snap the ball.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we should probably call timeout or something.
Major, if somebody asked you to describe Coach Nealon in a few words, how would you describe Coach Nealon?
A program builder. That's what I would say. You know what I mean? He took the program and basically took it to another level.
How did you relate to him and his coaching style? I mean, you were,
Well, when it comes to coaching, everybody got different ways of coaching. You as a player, you got to adjust to what's going on, basically.
Major, did Dale Catlett ever approach you about playing basketball here?
No.
No. So you were done with basketball.
Well, yeah. I guess when coming out of high school, I wanted to be a basketball player. That's all I was playing. But then what had happened was I started getting more publicity for football than basketball. So then, I started looking, well, I'm only 6'1", you know what I mean, guys 6'6" and 6'7". Now, if I would have got taller, you know what I mean, I probably would have been trying to push the issue more. But, at 6'1", let me stick with football.
Put you on the spot here. Had Pitt offered you as a quarterback, would you have gone there?
I don't know. You know what I mean? The thing about it, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would say I was leaning more towards coming here, and because at the time, one of my big things when I was coming out, because when you're young, you hear stories about, well, they ain't gonna play a black quarterback, or this school ain't gonna play a black quarterback. Well, at the time, we had one in John Talley. You know what I mean? So. My whole thinking was I really didn't want to go somewhere where they didn't have a black quarterback already. You know what I mean? And being that John Talley was here, that was perfect.
Major, when your name comes up in terms of the NFL, people always say that you were kind of ahead of your time. In that, you see a guy like Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson or something like that. That could have been you. Do you think that at the time when you came out, the NFL mindset wasn't ready for you yet and your skills?
Well, I mean, you can say that. I just think that, as time go on, thinking change and stuff like that. And I think it could have been more of my playing style than, you know what I mean, than anything. And because, a lot of times a coach, say from the 70s, he might not think the way a coach think now. You know what I mean? So I just think that as time go on, people adjust, changes happen as far as philosophies and coaching and stuff like that. Now, not to interrupt you, it's just like you take Oklahoma, Nebraska, you know what I mean? They were traditionally playing black quarterbacks. Then you look at it at Oklahoma, then Troy Aikman went there. So they was going to change the offense a little bit for him. Then he got hurt. Then he ended up transferring to UCLA.
A lot of people who might not be from West Virginia say that you were the reason why they heard about West Virginia and it put West Virginia on the map. Can you talk a little about, being an ambassador for the program and how people remember West Virginia football because of you?
I never looked at it like that. I guess once you in the box, you can't see outside the box or see how people see you. You know what I mean? You just taking it as it comes. But I can remember, West Virginia. Now I would say this, and not even when I was playing years later, I see the flying WV up in Pittsburgh everywhere. You know what I mean? Now I'm this is years after me. This ain't, like when I was playing all of a sudden. But, I can remember Hostetler. That was really my first time. And as far as, you know what I mean, really looking or hearing about West Virginia on the national level is when Hostetler transferred in from Penn State. I remember he was battling against Blackledge for the quarterback job, and I guess Blackledge ended up getting the job, then he transferred. I remember that.
Major, when you got into NFL camp, did they try and change your style of play or your mechanics or anything like that?
No. I went to the mini camp out in Oakland. I got drafted by Oakland in the 12th round. So when I went out to the mini camp, I remember going up into Orshell's office. He called me up to his office, and he told me, he said, me and the big guy talked, and we want you to go up Canada for, a couple years, and we'll bring you back. So I knew once I went there that, 9 times out of 10, I was going to go up Canada to play.
Did you like it up there?
Yeah, it's a quarterback league, really. You got 2 downs to make a first down. So if you like throwing, you know what I mean. I went up there and me and Doug Flutie played on the same team, and it was an adjustment for him just as well as adjusted for me. The first year. But you see, after that first year, Flutie took off and won all type of MVPs and stuff like that.
Knowing what you do today with the spread offenses and the shotgun and the style, would you have liked to have played in this style today?
I think it put the quarterback on the stage. I mean, I kind of like it, but I felt more comfortable under center. So when you say hut, the lineman raises up and you ain't as exposed as much. That's why you can do a little play action option. But when you in the shotgun, you're up on the stage and everything you do, that's people don't realize that's a lot of pressure. Being in the shotgun every play, they know where you're gonna be at every play unless you roll out and stuff like that. That's more pressure just being in the shotgun.
But the way you played, and maybe some of like Rodney Pete and some of those guys from your era, that was the outgrowth of that, was take your best athlete, put him at quarterback, and run your offense around him.
I could see that. But it's the same thing, I guess, once under center, like what Nebraska was doing in Oklahoma and running the option, kind of the same. It's just they probably throw more out of the shotgun.
Coach Wabi, how did he influence you? How did he help develop you? You've talked a lot, obviously here at West Virginia about Coach Nealon, but in high school, meeting him and how he helped you develop, and then other guys afterwards like Rashid.
Well, I think that, like I said, growing up, I wanted to be a basketball player. So once I got to Bashir and Coach Wobb gave me the opportunity to quarterback, I said, hey, I might can do something with this. You know what I mean? So in a sense, he was really the first coach that really, in a sense, well, you must be pretty good because you're starting here. You know what I mean? And I think that was a confidence builder.
Did you fit into what he was doing there, or were there some tweaks made to, take advantage of what you were really good at?
Well, I think a coach, he played towards a player's skill set. You know what I mean? You basically running the offense, then they might tweak things here and there.
As a player, you kind of live your life in kind of a bubble. You play the games and you do whatever. When did you realize that, to the question that was asked to you earlier about what you meant to people here? Did it come later, maybe when you come back and got your degree, or when did you realize that, hey, I lifted up some people here?
I never try to get caught up in that because, in a sense, I always say, you get a big head from thinking like that. I think I just kind of take it as it comes. You know what I mean? To be honest, like I feel uncomfortable when a player come up to me, even like today, congratulations. You know what I mean? Because we played together. You know what I mean? It's like we part of a team. So I kind of feel uncomfortable when a fellow player say that to me. You know what I mean? It's like making me feel like I was out there running by myself. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel uncomfortable with that. The thing about it is I appreciate, everything I guess that comes with playing football, but I never try to think in terms of, I did all this myself.
I think you mentioned, I've talked to you earlier this week, you mentioned that 93 season when you came back here to get your degree, you kind of lived it, the undefeated season that you didn't get to live when you were a player, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the memories and some of the thoughts there that from just being a student and enjoying that?
It was wild. I had just as much fun off the field. It was really the same. You know what I mean? When I came back to school to finish up, and then to see them go from the first win to the second win to the third win. And I remember the one game, I think we might have beat Miami, and everybody ran out on the field. And I remember running out on the field. And the thing that stuck in my mind, everybody going crazy. And I remember we was down in the one end zone, and the goalpost fell. Boom! And it started, you could hear the vibration. And all was in my mind. I was like, man, if that would have hit somebody in the head, it would have killed them. You know what I mean? And then a couple years later, that's when you start seeing the thing where they push the goalpost up and lay it down. But that's the one thing that stood out in my mind. Like, man, that goalpost would clobber somebody.
One of the greatest moments in the stadium's history was after you guys beat Syracuse to finish 11-0. You guys were in the locker room. Someone said, hey, no one's leaving, and you guys took a victory lap. Talk about that moment, if you would.
Yeah. The one thing I remember about that, I guess it was raining a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember we was in the locker room, and I forgot what they said, go back out. You know what I mean? And I remember just running out in the field, just had my hand up and, just running around and giving high fives.
Major, I know you've assistant coached a little bit at Brashear and dabbled in that some. Is it difficult for you to coach people because maybe they can't do everything that you do? How did you approach that? How did you try to develop them?
No, I never, I guess, as when you feel that you like pretty successful doing something, I think if you look at it from it's like going up some steps, whereas you're not trying to get them to be where you at, you're just trying to get them to step up, you know what I mean? Just to keep stepping up. And because, football's still football, you know what I mean? And everybody ain't gonna complete every pass. So it's just a thing of just keep trying to step up.
Major, do you like the direction that the game is going today? I mean, West Virginia doesn't play Penn State anymore regularly. They don't play Pitt anymore regularly. A lot of the rivalries that you grew up with, we grew up with, are no more. The game is different. Do you like the way the game's going today?
Well, when you grow up playing Penn State, Pitt, backyard brawl, you know what I mean? You want to see that. It's almost like once we got to the Big 12, I felt like we were kind of out of our comfort zone, you know what I mean? So now, I guess with the younger guys coming up, they comfortable with who they playing, but as an older person, it's like, man, that's kind of out of our comfort zone. Then you take, as far as traveling to games, everything is different.
Do you have to find yourself explaining that to younger kids that, hey, I played against Pitt, I knew all their players, they knew all of us, we went to the same stores and shopped together, that kind of thing? I mean, that's kind of gone.
Yeah, and everybody, like, the same coaches is like recruiting all the same players. Now here, guys from way out west, is being recruited. So, sometimes you might be playing in high school and you and the guy you playing against is both being recruited by Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia. Now, it's, they getting recruited by Iowa State and, different things like that. So, it's definitely, it's like that comfort zone thing that I was saying.